First off, as a columnist from the Telegraph-Herald back in 2010, you kind of criticized the process the Democrats used for passing Obamacare. I'm wondering if you could talk about the process that Republicans used with regarding the AHCA. Excuse me. We've heard some criticisms, including from conservatives, about voting on that without a CBO score and not knowing what the full kind of cost implications would be.
Yeah, I've been critical. As you're probably aware, I've been critical of the process. I was critical of the process with Obamacare, and I've been critical of this process as well. I think in Iowa, it's kind of tough because we're losing all of our insurers in the individual market. Aetna and Wellmark said they're pulling out at the end of 2017. And Medica, which was the third small company, they said they're likely going to pull out. So we'll have no insurers in the individual market at the end of 2017. And where I'm heading with that is somewhat time sensitive, that Congress act to help states like Iowa. That being said, though, I think the process was rushed, and there should have been hearings, and there shouldn't have been an open amendment process. And I've been critical of that from the get-go. So I don't like the process, and I know it's my own party, but I don't run it. And I think we should have slowed down a bit and tried to get, I don't know if it was possible, but try to get bipartisan support on the bill.
Okay. And what of critics who are worried about the provision regarding the waivers that states could seek with regard to people who have pre-existing conditions that let their coverage lapse? We've also heard critics complain about proposed cuts to Medicaid, and that could disproportionately hit the poor and disabled.
Okay, that's a big. Where do you want me to start at?
Sorry. Well, if you could talk about pre-existing conditions, I mean, that's been a big topic of debate and concern, including from...
Pre-existing conditions are covered.
Okay.
They're covered. So whether it's a waiver state or a non-waiver state, pre-existing conditions are covered.
But I guess what of experts who question whether the amount of money that would be allocated for...
You're talking about the high-risk pools.
Right, exactly.
That's in the waiver state. And states like Maine, for example, are doing that. And what happens there is the folks that have pre-existing conditions, they're put in a high-risk pool. In Maine, it happens to be invisible. Some states, you can do it transparent if you'd like. And what that does for everyone else that's not in the high-risk pool, their premiums can come down substantially. We're talking like 20 to 40%. They're paying more because they're paying for high risk. These people you put in a high-risk pool, and the government then comes in, the state government and federal government comes in and buys down their premiums to an affordable level. I personally think that's a great idea so that we can lower premiums for everybody. I've always been concerned about the 176 million Americans in the group health insurance market that get their insurance through employers. It'd be nice to see their health insurance premiums come down as well in this bill. So but in the bill, it stays in the way it is. Not that much has really changed in this bill. Probably about 10% of Obamacare has changed. That's about it. But if a state wants to apply for a waiver, if they do, many states won't, then they have the opportunity to do that. That's why I switched from a no vote to a yes vote. The states have the opportunity to do that.
Okay. And what about concerns with regard to cuts to Medicaid and the impact that this could have on the poor and disabled?
Yeah, well, the Medicaid, it went to 140% of the net federal poverty level, and this bill would take it back to where it was, back to 100% of the federal poverty level. Everybody that over the last few years that became eligible stays eligible. No one gets kicked off that's currently in Medicaid. So if you're at 139% of the federal poverty level and you qualified last year for Obamacare, you still get to qualify for Trump care, whatever you want to call it, going forward. They're not getting kicked off. No one's getting kicked off.
Okay. And then I guess what was your reaction to House Democrats when they chanted the "na-na, hey, hey, goodbye" and the comment from Nancy Pelosi, essentially saying that Republicans could pay for this at the ballot box in the upcoming election?
I mean, it's politics as usual. I think chanting at us and waving goodbye to us, it's a political ploy. I think they'd do better off if they were saying, here's what our alternatives are, here's what we stand for. Or we're going to reach out and work with the Republicans since we're in power now. I think that would have been much better.
Okay. And lastly, or I guess one of the last questions, why the requirement for a photo ID?
Yeah, we didn't know if we were going to have a great crowd here. We didn't know how many people we would end up with. So we wanted to make sure, and we just think it's common sense. Just want to make sure that the people that are here are from our district. I'm the first district representative. So we would hate to have somebody not be able to come tonight because somebody from Chicago, for example, was here instead. So that's the logic behind it. Everybody that every 100% of the people I've spoken to, they say, that makes sense to us. We get it. We just think it's common sense. We just think it's common sense. We want to make sure that they have a better opportunity to ask their questions than if there's twice as many people here, half of which weren't from the district. They'd get a much better opportunity to ask questions.
Okay. Lastly, any idea kind of where the Health Care Act goes in the Senate, and
Great
people
question.
who thought that the Rose Garden ceremony was maybe a little premature, given we've heard Senate Republicans saying that they plan to start from scratch?
Yeah, interesting. Well, the Rose Garden thing, I mean, it was, I don't know if you want to call it a celebration. I think the president just wanted to say, hey, thanks, House, for passing this bill. I mean, there was, it wasn't a big, huge celebration. It was a little media event in the Rose Garden. Oh yeah, it goes to the Senate now. That's the second part of your question. It goes to the Senate now. Yeah, some moderate Republicans say dead on arrival. It's all posturing. It's all politics. But we'll see what they do. It's in their hands now, and they may. Who knows? They may pass it as it is. They may make it better. They may start with a clean slate and start totally over. We'll see. Who knows?